Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the info session for the call Social Economy Enterprises, Capacity Building and Business Opportunities for Social Circular Enterprises. Next slide, please. My name is Ramūnas Kuncaitis. I'm the head of sector of entrepreneurship and clusters in EISMEA, the sector which is responsible for implementation of this call. Today's session will last up to until 12:30, and we are planning to do the introduction. Then the colleagues will give you policy context of the call. You will be receiving also general information on the call itself, the financial provisions of the call as well, and then a colleague from REA Central Validation Service will explain you how you should be doing the registration of participants. At the end of the session, we will have a time for questions and answers, but at the same time, after each of the presentations, you will have a chance to ask the questions. Some housekeeping rules. Your microphone and camera are switched off by default. This meeting is recorded. If you do not wish your name appear on the recording, please make sure to submit your questions in Slido as anonymous. Once the slides and recording of this meeting will be available on the call page, we will email information about it to you. The questions will be asked via Slido. So as I mentioned, here is the QR code to it. So those who did not connect to Slido yet, please use the QR code. Activate it on your mobile device or your computer. If you are going to Slido via computer, you need to type slido.com and enter the SMP. We know that you were quite active already. We received already a few questions, so please listen to the presentations, and then if there will be something not clear or you have any other questions about the call or policy context, feel free to write them in Slido, and we will answer them after each of the sessions and at the end of the presentations. I would like to invite my colleague from the European Commission, DG GROW, Karel van der Poorten, Policy Officer on Social Economy, to give you the background and policy context of this call. Karel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ramūnas. Good morning to all participants also from my side. Thanks for the introduction as well. Let's immediately go to the first slide where we will give a very short EU policy background on the main initiatives from the European Commission in the last years that give a direct or indirect input or reason for these two topics in this call. First and foremost, the basis of our work within DG GROW on industrial policy is the European Industrial Strategy of 2020, which introduced an ecosystem-based approach. Maybe the slide is a little bit too small, but if you can look more closely, you will recognize that there are 14 different industrial ecosystems, which you will see on the right side in the sort of flower. And a very important aspect of that, if you would not have heard about this, is that proximity and social economy is designated as one industrial ecosystem of the 14, which is a very important political message that the Commission wants to support social economy, not only from a social policy perspective, but also from an economic perspective, so that we value these more than 10 million enterprises in the EU, so social enterprises and social economy organizations, as very valuable in an economic from an economic point of view. Of course, most of those organizations and enterprises are SMEs, or rather small business, but we are also having very large corporates, non-profit organizations, cooperatives, etc., mutual societies. But the SME strategy, of course, wanted to focus specifically on the sustainable and digital uptake and development of SMEs in the EU. In 2021, because of COVID, of course, there was a lot of need for an update of the industrial strategy with a very explicit focus on recovery based on the twin transition. So the green and digital transition, and to promote these industrial ecosystems, all these 14, to give a new push in towards their economic and business development. And that gave in 2021 also the result of the development of a transition pathway, a so-called plan, an actionable plan for each industrial ecosystem to drive this green and digital transition together with stakeholders, identifying the most needed actions, but also the most pressing challenges. This document you can see on the right side of this slide is a very interesting document that was co-created with over 400 stakeholders from the social economy, and which gives also a lot of interesting material to build up this specific call, but also probably your project proposals if you would be interested. Then another aspect that is not coming from the industrial strategy, but that is actually as important for the social economy itself, is the Social Economy Action Plan, also from 2021, which has a very explicit focus on promoting the future of social economy, not only from a business perspective, so not only from a perspective of the individual enterprise, but also from an ecosystem perspective at national and regional level. In doing so, the action plan also paved the way for council recommendations, which means that member states come forward with strategies, with actions, with specific policies to pave the way for a more flourishing social economy at national and regional level. So this action plan has identified a whole series of specific action points to promote a social economy, and one of those actions is also to boost the capacity of social economy organizations and social enterprises in the EU. Next slide, please, because then we arrive to this specific call. If you would have a look at all those documents that I presented to you, you will find also the definition of what we understand at the European level under social economy, what the specific policy priorities are towards it, and also how the link with these calls, with this call is established. So you will see that it's not a surprise that Commission also wants to invest in the organization and entrepreneurial capacity of specifically SMEs within the social economy. And the second part that also comes directly from the Social Economy Action Plan, but also the transition pathway for proximity and social economy, is a focus on circular social enterprises. So circular value chains and how social enterprises can make most out of that, can be present in those, as we see many promising business models, and also a long-standing tradition in the social economy of circular enterprises. Let's go first to the first. Let's go to the first topic and have a look how it was designed and what the purpose is. And on the next slide, I will give you a brief introduction about the objective of stepping up, or the official name, stepping up organizational and entrepreneurial capacity of SMEs in the social economy. So this call has a very explicit objective to improve the quality of the management, but also organizational excellence of SMEs in the social economy. It wants to do by offering the opportunity to pilot capacity building, training, coaching, and advisory services towards these SMEs from the consortia and that will be developed under this call. But it also wants to build a sort of future-looking perspective and sustainability of the developed materials by designing blueprints for replication, allowing also to scale the developed materials. Why is this so important? Because we see that many organizations in the social economy have a very, let's say, strong impact model. They have a very strong presence in terms of social added value, social impact, but also ecological and societal impact, but not always have a very solid organizational backbone to make sure that these impact models are developed, and which is also harming their economic position. It's also harming their financial sustainability over time. As we see that all the investments, all the money, all the time is going really to the social cause or the ecological cause, the societal cause, less attention is going towards these organizational capacity. And that is specifically what we want to support with this call. We want to offer the opportunity to make those organizations stronger from an organizational point of view, for example, by making management more capable, more agile, more, let's say, adaptive to future challenges and needs of today. How we will do that, you will see in the next slide, the scope of the call, so how we want to have proposals be organized. First of all, it's really important that you are able, if you design a proposal, to define clearly the scope of what type of SMEs in the social economy you would like to approach. So proposals that, for example, say we want to support a whole social economy without really giving an idea what you actually mean, what type of businesses, what type of organizations, that will be very hard to be accepted. So therefore, we give some guidance on how you can frame, for example, sectoral activity. Which specific sectors within the social economy would you like to tackle? Also, what type of social economy organizations would you like to support? Because in this, if you will have a look at the social economy action plan and the definition that the EU puts forward on social economy, you will see a very, let's say, broad spectrum of very different traditions, from the cooperative movement, non-profit associations, foundations and philanthropic organizations, and the social enterprises. And within those, there are very different subsets as well, from work integration to circular social enterprises, and so on and so forth. So it's very important that you're able to define your focus of type of enterprise. And then a third part is this territorial dimension, where we really ask to focus on a specific series of member states, but this can also be a specific region or even a locality within a member state. So sometimes social economy organizations are very much defined in a local concept or a local or regional tradition, and with a lot of similar characteristics. So that also requires maybe specific answers in terms of organizational support. And then a fourth point is the degree of maturity. We see that in some regions in the EU, the social economy ecosystem is very advanced. These type of interventions are maybe not very necessary for very basic organizational development or management capacity, but maybe more the innovation aspect, more the advanced type of organizational models, allowing, for example, to scale a business, to merge with other businesses, to grow also the impact in terms of organizational scope, to branch out, social franchising and all those type of models that allow social economy organizations to increase their impact, but also their presence in the market. So these four elements are very important to define the scope of what you would like to target within the social economy related to the topic of the call. Next slide, please. Some horizontal aspects to take into account. I already stressed a lot this digital, the degree of maturity, for example, in digital uptake, but that can also be in green uptake, that can also be in innovation capacity, but also the transfer of knowledge. So it's very important that within a partnership you have very strong partners, but also partners that have, for example, less experience, so that there can be this transnational relationship built. That's also why it's funded under the single market program. This is a program that very much want to exchange practices and make sure that the ones that are really front runners are also sharing their capacity and influence with the ones that are maybe lagging behind. It's very important when you develop capacity building and support service that they are also modular, affordable, adaptable, and accessible. It's very it sounds like a logic story, of course, but certainly within the social economy, the affordability and the accessibility is very important. It should be really allowed to tailor to the needs of the specific organization. And therefore, the local context, of course, that I already mentioned, the regional characteristics of the social economy ecosystems are very important to take into consideration. A last element, which is also very, let's say, linked to the social economy nature and the philosophy behind is the point of cooperation. So joint business initiatives where, for example, social economy federations are really the driver of these type of projects and make sure that they are capable to support their enterprises over time and in the long run. Next slide, please. We have listed a few potential teams that you could tackle to design also your support programs. I think there are many programs in terms of organizational excellence, management support around, but these are some of the aspects that we have seen in our consultations before the call, and also the transition pathway as elements that can be focused on, for example, governance, strategy of the organization, future anticipation, foresight, the general management of an organization, so very raw organizational forms, governance models, and certainly within the social economy you have very different approaches. For example, the cooperative movement with its democratic decision-making system, HR, financial management, change management, lean management practices, but also the stakeholder management, very important, PR and marketing practices, the local embedding of the organization and the relation to the territory, but also the relation to governments and public authorities. For all these type of, let's say, capacity within an organization, we have also in the market a huge amount of tools that can be used, a huge amount of methodologies that can be used, and of course the devil is in the detail of the proposals that we receive, that you are able to put forward the right methodologies that are also applicable to a business model that you want to support within the social economy. So first, the scope is very important, but then adapt a specific program towards the type of social economy organizations that you envisage. Next slide, please. We listed very briefly here the mandatory activities. There are much more detailed described and very clearly described in the call text, so I invite you to have a very close look. But of course there will be a kickoff meeting, and that is like it's a mandatory activity, but it's important that you know that it's mandatory. But then the first step is very crucial. Before you start to design your training programs, it's important that you do a sort of mapping and assessment of the needs of your target group. You scope the type of you scope the type of companies, SMEs that you would like to support in the social economy, and then it's important that you know what type of needs do they have in terms of organizational growth, in terms of organizational capacity. The second part is how you do the training and the capacity building, so how you design. And the third mandatory activity is really the design of the capacity building by designing the program, for example, based on existing ones, that you adapt to the needs of social economy, to the business model of the social economy, that you pilot and that you test, so that you implement, you pilot, you adapt them, and you test, so that you know that you have some kind of a proof-based case. And then, of course, we also wanted to use benchmarking tools and targets to see whether there is some progress based on the used support programs that you have developed. A fourth mandatory activity is not necessarily training or capacity building type of activities, but it's coaching and advisory, which is, in the contrary of the third activity, so training and capacity building, much more an individual SME support, where SMEs have a very specific, for example, issue or a very specific perspective where they need advisory in terms of organizational growth and capacity. That is a very important thing to combine. Maybe that leads also to the need for a certain training, where there is a constant relation between those mandatory activities, and that's also why this modular approach is very crucial. A fifth element are the transnational workshops. Again, I already explained that this transnational component is very important. I will come back in the next slide to that, but it's basically the way how you exchange the practice, but also co-design certain models and methodologies together. For the future, it's very crucial that as a sixth mandatory activity, and it should not be the major point of attention here. It's more to make sure that for the future you build some kind of guarantee the sustainability of what you have developed, and that you as an organization developing certain assistance programs, that you can replicate it over time, that you can adapt it, that you can use these modular blueprints to continue this offer towards the SMEs in your portfolio. And then, of course, the seventh activity is on communication, awareness raising about the programs that you offer, about the activities that you will do, and so on and so forth. Next slide, please. So here we have the transnational dimension. Those can be developed to support design or setup and the mapping and assessment exercise, but also capacity building packages and assistance. And it's very crucial to give this feedback and adaptation, that you have, for example, the learning also at transnational level, but also some trainings can be organized in a transnational context, but also only where appropriate. Be careful here not to push everything into a transnational training model, because for many SMEs that is not appropriate for them, only in terms of language, for example, or that is not maybe fitted to the needs they have, if they have, for example, no transnational ambitions in terms of scale or collaboration across border. This does not make much sense. But on the other hand, for a part of your target group, that might be very relevant, so we want to keep this option open. And of course, as I already said in between the different slides, this joint learning, transfer of knowledge and feedback loop is, of course, very crucial to have this in an international context. Next slide, please. The expected impacts of the call, I will not go much in detail because they are literally copied from the call text into the slides. It's for the sake of completeness that I added them here, but it's of course very important for you to make sure that you capture those indicators and KPIs within your proposal and also within your project. It's important to know that when we say SMEs in this topic, we mean SMEs in the social economy, of course. So that is the crucial element, and the target group of this topic are specifically SMEs in the social economy. That is a very slight difference with the next topic, so that's why I explicitly put the emphasis on this here. And in the next slide, also for the sake of completeness, we give you the mandatory single market program impacts indicators, my apologies, that you need to gather in along this project. So that's it for the first topic. Let's go now to the second one. The second topic, and you will understand when I explain what the background and the motives are behind this topic, why we have bundled this in one call, so that we have one call with two specific topics. But here, and that is directly coming from the engagement that the Commission made in the Social Economy Action Plan, is that we want to foster, first of all, more partnerships between mainstream, what we call mainstream for-profit economy, and the social economy as defined in the Social Economy Action Plan. And secondly, that we also want to push for further development of social circular enterprises. That the circular economy within the social economy, so circular activities offered and developed by social enterprises are have a very long-standing tradition, but also very important for the future of social economy and their activities. Also their view in society. Many people, when you talk about social economy, they have right away the image of these second-hand shops, of these repair shops, offer reuse, offer refurbishing services, collection of waste, and so on and so forth. So this connotation of circular and social economy is already very strong, but we want to push these businesses to the next stage. Why? Since the most recent crises, for example, energy, but for sure the crisis in access to raw materials, we see that the sector is massively changing. Also under the pressure of consumer behavior, the wish for more sustainable purchasing and consumption. Those markets are very let's say attractive also for profit players, and this, and we need to be honest about it, gives also very big challenges for the market players, social enterprise that are already for a long time in these sectors. So therefore we want to offer this call to try and find synergy solutions between those different parties. Sometimes there is a potential collaboration that also can circumvent the fierce competition or practices that are categorized as greenwashing, for example, or there are other ways to fight those practices and to put forward an alternative against that. So that is a bit the background that I wanted to give, that we want to give to show you the reason for this second call. The objectives in my introduction, I kind of introduced them or incorporated them already. It's very much focused on this matchmaking B2B partnership, the role on how social circular enterprises can be better present in other value chains, for example, in the secondary raw materials markets, focused on very specific waste streams, focused on very specific sectors. And of course, by building also very strong public-private partnerships and relations with other type of organizations beyond the business community, for example, research institutions, circular HIPS clusters, and so on and so forth. Next slide, please. That's enough for the introduction. And there are a series of specific objectives. So first of all, boost market product and service research, allow these social circular enterprises to go to the next stage, to arrive to explore new market potential, but also to fight competitive realities that we see, as I already introduced. Boost the recognition of inclusive, associative, participatory and cooperative business models in the field of social circular economy. This is basically what I introduced with the long-standing traditions, and to push for these alternative business models that certainly still have a place in the circular economy, but also the territorial aspect. And just like with the first topic, is very crucial here, because every territory has its very specific aspects, its very specific industrial backbone that also gives other opportunities for circular partnerships. In some regions, you will have totally different type of projects or project outcomes than in other regions, just because of the industrial presence that is there, and the circular capacity that might not yet be developed, or that is already very advanced. Of course, there is a part very important in terms of consumer demand and awareness. So also the communication aspect, of development of new services, the servitization of certain offers and consumption. That is very much attractive for many new social circular enterprises or spin-offs of existing ones. And of course, these procurement aspects. We see much more circular attention within public procurement, but this requires also the ability to put forward a very solid offer in terms of circular practices when you apply for public procurement. And sometimes the size or the scope or the scale is not big enough. So also partnership for circular procurement is very much needed to take those social circular enterprises within the picture of public procurement initiatives. And then a last aspect, and that's also something I already mentioned, is this new business models within the circular economy that are much pioneered by certain social enterprises already, but maybe others could invest much more or could explore the potential at least. Next slide, please. The scope, we ask to define the scope as well here. The aspects of the previous topic can be used as some kind of support or guidelines, but here, of course, we want you to add very specific focus on circular sectors or waste streams. So that is, of course, very important to show also your knowledge of the sector, the local, regional, or national circular realities and the potentials that you have. But also in terms of circular activities that are already occurring or not. And then, of course, and that's much more to do with the circular cycle. So what stages would you like to focus on? This is also very important to define within your proposal. Next slide, please. Then we come to the priorities for action. So, of course, there will be some repetition here. Apologies already for that. It's very crucial to support social circular enterprises in very specific circular markets and in very specific value chains based on a market research. And so this call allows to do this market research. We see in our discussions with federations, with social enterprises, that sometimes the market is not known enough. There is not enough relationship with the, let's say, the industrial community to see where potential added value could be of a collaboration or a potential service or a potential delivery of service or even products and processes towards already existing industrial activity. And therefore, market research is very important. But not only for the business opportunity, also for the economic viability. If you want to explore a new potential service or business collaboration, it should also be economically viable. So there again, economic feasibility of certain operations is something that need to be supported within this sector, and that this call really wants to foster and facilitate. And of course, this should lead towards an improved market position of social circular economy organizations that are entering, and whether we like it or not, in much more competitive environments today. So this call again wants to allow them to strengthen themselves in that position, but also to facilitate this business collaboration. We see that the most advanced social circular enterprises are also the ones that have established the most advanced collaborations with mainstream for-profit businesses. So we certainly believe this is part of the puzzle to make them survive, but also to allow them to scale. Another aspect is, of course, this testing of new services, business models, and products, as I already mentioned. There are also a few options that you could tackle. This is more in the collaboration among social enterprises, for example, in circular hubs, but also other type of partners through clusters. And then another aspect is also to research and to investigate the role of potential technologies that can be used to improve the competitiveness, the productivity of circular social enterprises. Next slide, please. There, the mandatory activities, again, pretty similar flow as we had for the other, as we had for the first topic. So of course, kickoff meeting. Here, a first phase is the research phase. I already introduced it in the previous slide, how important this is. And then we focus on 5 in-person workshops at the local or regional or national level that should cover the following elements. The first is market analysis, so it should be used to develop this research phase, and so the second mandatory activity, but also capacity and training is an important element that can be developed, and that's of course the link with the first topic that is here. But a third topic that is very specifically added here, and which is very different from the first topic, is this business matchmaking. And this is really to explore this B2B potential that can be developed under this call. And then, of course, we add a fourth element, which is, again, 3 transnational in-person workshops that should be organized to have this learning. I will come back to that in the next slide, but also potential transnational business development. The fifth element is that we want as an output also to have a sectoral strategy, and so to allow at a national, regional, or local level to revise, to update, or to develop, if it's not existing, the sectoral circular strategy for social enterprises for the next coming years, as many different, let's say, realities are present today that maybe don't address the business models that are already so much existing within the social economy anymore. And then 6 is, of course, communication and awareness raising, as it is evident to explore. Next slide, please. Again, a very brief word on the transnational dimension. Very important to use these transnational workshops, for example, to make a comparison between the different market analyses that are done in each participating member state, region, or locality. But also to develop, if needed, or organize at the transnational level capacity building and training sessions. So here again, they can be developed at transnational level and then implement, so train the trainer alike of flow, but they can also be organized at the transnational level, again, where appropriate. Very important to take in account the maturity, the possibilities of the businesses that you want to target, to see if the transnational, if a transnational training is valid and appropriate or not. And of course, this business matchmaking, again, can be developed, can be, let's say, designed at the transnational level, but should, of course, take place at the local level. For those that are mature enough, there can be also optionally B2B matchmaking at transnational level. We don't want to exclude it, but there again, it's very much to decide at the project level what is feasible, what is the maturity of your businesses that you want to target and that you want to support, and whether they can have a potential international capacity to develop, yes or no. Next slide, please. There again, I will not go too much in detail here. It's all copy pasted from the call, but it's very important for the sake of completeness. The expected impacts and the indicators that you have to monitor. And just the same for the next slide, we have the mandatory indicators of the single market program that are the same for every call developed under this topic, under the single market program. Apologies, under the SMEs trend. This is my last slide. I hope I gave some clarity and some, let's say, insights in what the drivers are behind this call and the two different topics. I hope you are very much triggered, of course, to support your social enterprises and social economy organizations. And let's go to the questions and let's see how that works. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Karel, very much for presenting the political context of this call and also giving the basic information. What do we expect in the projects from the content point of view? Thank you very much for all the participants for actively asking the questions. We received much more than it is shown now on the screen. We are sorting them a little bit in order not to ask the question for the part which is not yet presented. So right now we will be only releasing the questions which are focusing on Karel's presentation. Then we received some questions on eligibility, on financial part. They will be released later after the relevant presentations will be made. But in any case, all the questions in coming days will also be answered in the question and answer session on the call page, so that you would have the answers also in writing. So, Karel, the first question is, what is the exact definition of the social companies? You are muted.
Sorry, I already referred to that question in my presentation. There is a European definition that you can find in the social economy action plan.
Okay, thank you. The next question for the topic 2, can the B2B partnership focus on social procurement both for public and private sector?
I do not see why not.
Basically, if the project in the project
Listen,
they
I
explain
will
it why,
I
that's no
will
problem, right?
explain it otherwise. It's clearly focusing on B2B partnership and market potential in the circular economy. So the the question why the private sector would not be present seems a bit odd, because that's exactly the target of the call. So we want to have more business. When I explain it very plain, we want to have more business partnerships and economic business partnerships between the social circular enterprise and the for-profit circular economy. But in my presentation, I also added that this can be also relevant in terms of public procurement, because sometimes social enterprise, and that's what we see, if there are circular requirements, they can be very interesting partners for a consortia, for a certain tender or a certain, say, call or contract, framework contract, because they have the capacity, but sometimes their scale or their size is not big enough. So therefore, we also want not to exclude that this call allows partnerships for public procurement. So private procurement and private business, it's like the first and foremost important aspect of this call, but therefore not to exclude also public procurement partnerships. We explicitly highlighted this option as well. So I hope this clarifies well the question.
I think it's the definition itself that we are focusing on the social procurement, not telling social public procurement or social private procurement already gives the answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you. Next question for topic 1 regarding the scope. Can we specify legal status of social economy SMEs and territorial dimension, for example, but with no sectoral focus?
I think I understand the question, because it's about the 4 elements of scope. I can only advise to be as specific as possible, but of course, you should not be that specific that there is nobody left anymore. It's really the balance that you have to develop within a proposal. Some sectors in the social economy, for example, when it comes to, what shall I say, care institutions, nonprofit care and health provisions, social assistance, are so huge that only this sector would already probably more than enough to put your focus on. I cannot think that you would focus on this sector and then on another hand on an industrial metal cooperative. I don't think that would be much compatible within your offer. If you think it is, who am I to say no? It's also, you have also modular approaches, but other niches within the social economy are maybe so small that you want to tackle various sectors. For example, if you want to support the cooperative movement in a certain region and they are present in a series of sectors, then of course it's not just one sector of focus that you should have. You can define several sectors of attention. What we want is that you know about what type of SMEs you're talking about, and not just tell us we want to support the social economy in the EU, because yeah, then we have 10 million enterprises about what are you talking. So that is why we put these different aspects. So just to, actually it's a test for us to know how much you really know about your your target group and who you want to focus on, and how this allows also to define a proper strategy to boost, and it's for topic 1, to boost their capacity and their organizational excellence. Again, I hope this helps in your this helps as an answer to your question.
Okay, thank you. I think that the next question you have already answered. Can a topic 1 project focus only on a specific sectoral activity such as recycling,
Yeah, that's what
manufacturing,
I just explained.
or even more specific as for topic 2?
Yeah.
So this was already answered. In call 1, there is one service provider needed in the consortium. What is the expected role designing the strategy and methodology, or actually delivering training in several countries?
It's partly a question for the later, but if you allow me, I will already answer. That's totally up to you to decide. I cannot know what a service provider you imagine, what his capabilities are, what its role are. Are we talking about a regional federation of social enterprises that has, for example, 300 members, but that has only a sort of, let's say, networking information service, but not really the capacity to offer certain trainings, then it might be that you collaborate with another provider that has really the capacity to develop these type of trainings, organizational management trainings, that offer this for you, so that you have a sort of dual partnership at the regional level, or that you want to boost this capacity in-house and that you have already activities like this and that you would want to further develop it. That is both possible. So it really depends on your scope, what type of partners you want to envisage. And that is also the quality of the proposal that we expect, that you show, listen, this is what we already have, this is the composition, this is what we will get on board. This is the capacity that we will include in our consortia, just to make sure that this will be possible in future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Topic 2, is it possible that mainstream sector federation or business support organization with experience in the topic in the circular economy is the same organization that is indicated as the social economy enabling organization?
That's a question for
eligibility, so we leave it for
I
the
will
next
skip that.
presentation.
I think the colleagues already have an answer to that in the FAQ, by the way, but I'm not
yes,
100% sure.
So we leave
But
it
we
for
will
the
come
next.
back to that later, sir, for sure.
Then the second question for topic 1, can we say that that we focus on social economy actors that have already benefited by the FSTP support from the greening and the digitalization?
I think you skipped one, Ramunas. No, yeah, it's switch. Sorry.
Yeah,
Please
it's
go
the
on.
first one. So can we say that we focus on social economy actors that have already benefited by the FSTP support from the greening and digitalizing social economy goals? I think here, if they prove in the application that this is the reason why, probably yes, why not?
Yeah, I think legally, and please correct colleagues, correct me if I'm wrong, there is no problem, because it's a totally different call. However, there is a very important however here, and it's not something that we let's say focus explicitly on in the call, but in between the lines you can read that we really want you to make sure that these calls are also giving access to EU support in areas that are not yet reached. So you will also see that in the, let's say, eligibility criteria. We have seen in the past that applicants to our calls are too much focusing on the same type of partners, meaning that very much of the same type of SMEs are benefiting from these programs. So it's also a play for you to use these calls to make sure that you extend the support that you can offer thanks to these calls to as much as possible SMEs in the social economy, and not always the same. If it's of course appropriate, and that is pure a content matter of discussion, if it's appropriate and needed for the parties that you have already supported, because it's not because you're supporting a digital transition program for a certain SME in a certain country, for a certain social enterprise, yeah, that they might not need support in terms of management capacity. So it's pure a case-based approach that we want, but with a small caveat that we really want to push you to make sure that as much as possible social enterprise across the EU can benefit our calls, and not always the same ones. And that is also the reason why the eligibility requirements in terms of geographic scope are slightly adapted to give you some incentives in that way.
Okay, thank you. We are receiving very high amount of questions, but we also need to move on with the presentation. So we take 2 more questions. And as I mentioned, those which will not be answered in this session, together with those which were answered, will appear on the call page. Is the call only for the social enterprises or also for social finance providers or microfinance institutions which finance social enterprises and could have projects example for capacity building of social enterprises?
I can be brief. Those type of partners can be intermediaries that can indeed use this call to support their clients, meaning SMEs applying for microfinance, for example. So they are also can be considered as social economy intermediaries.
But you also always need to look that the eligibility conditions of the call are fulfilled.
Of
Otherwise,
course,
the whole application will
I
not
said
be
can.
accepted.
No, it's not. They can be. That is
Exactly,
if they
exactly,
are
among others.
matching indeed.
Okay, thank you. Can we work with larger social companies that could make transferable activities with social economy SMEs?
Yes, of course, and that is the whole point of making sure that there are different degrees of maturity. The only thing is they will not count for your indicators. But please use the capacity of big companies, of big organizations that have already the capacity to create this transfer of knowledge within a region, within a member state, but also in a transnational dimension. Just be careful that you don't count them under the indicators of SMEs, because that will not fly.
And I will take actually the question number 3 for topic 1. Can you choose more than one theme? Interlink relevance.
More than one team.
Do you understand the question or not?
No, here I must make an assumption because I'm not super sure what the question means with a team. I have listed a series of, I think, let's say, focuses or teams. Maybe I can't recall exactly the name in terms of management and organizational, let's say, modules. If you want to focus on HR, reward policy, public relation, innovation management, etc. If you mean those teams, of course, just one module on HR, that would be very odd if this is the only support that you would offer to your SMEs. So of course you can focus on much more. It's the idea that you have a sort of modular portfolio of different management support schemes and organizational support schemes. So the main target is of course the management, the board, mid-management. If you can really substantiate why, for example, employees should be subject of some, for example, workshops or trials, that can for sure also be added. But yeah, no, it's not just one topic. It's really a portfolio, a solid portfolio that is based also on the needs assessment. Therefore, this needs assessment, this research phase, it's very important that you know where are my enterprises in my portfolio, my target group enterprises are performing very well, and where do they need support in terms of organizational capacity.
Okay, thank you. In case we have not answered the question, please reformulate it that we would have it for the written answers later. Unfortunately, I need to stop with the questions and answers because we need to move to the next presentation. Thank you very much, Karel,
With
for
pleasure.
your
Looking forward
presentation.
to the results.
Exactly. So thanks a lot for your presentation and for the answers. We move on to the general information on the call for proposals, and I would like to ask my colleague Romain Boutier to present this to you. Romain, the floor is yours.
Ramounas, and good morning to all participants. My name is Romain Boutier. I work as a project advisor at EISMEA, which is the European Innovation Council and the SMEs executive agency, and this is this EU executive agency that is responsible for managing this call. So on this first slide and next one, I will talk about some call basics. But before, I'd like to reassure participants that the presentation will be available after the session, and so you will have access to the hyperlinks that are in the different slides. So the title of the call is Social Economy Enterprises, Capacity Building and Business Opportunities for Social Circular Enterprises. There are two topics, as already mentioned by Karel. The total budget for the call is 8 million euros, and the project duration of the project is 36 months. The proposals have to be submitted through the funding and tender portal, which is the place where you can submit your proposal, but it's also where you can find the useful documents, information, the question and answers, and the templates. Next. So now I have a more specific view on each topic. Topic 1 is named Stepping Up Organizational and Entrepreneurial Capacity of SMEs in Social Economy. The budget for this topic is 6 million euros, and our intention is to fund 3 to 4 projects, and the budget, the grant amount per project is expected to be between 1.5 and 2 million euros. Topic 2 is named Partnerships for Circular Value Chains between mainstream businesses and SMEs in social economy. The budget for the topic is 2 million euros, and the intention is to fund 2 to 3 projects for a grant amount per project of around 1 million euros. I'd like to indicate that it is possible for applicants to apply for both topics. They can apply for one or for both topics, but if they apply for the 2 topics, it has to be through a separate proposal for each topic. Now about the timeline. So as you know, the call was published on the 1st of October. The very important date is the deadline for submission of proposals, which is the 10th of December 2024 at 5 p.m. Central European Time. So please respect this deadline very well, because if you submit your proposal after this time, your proposal will be out of the competition. Then on the indicative timeline afterwards, so we will, after the call deadline, we will start the evaluation process. It is expected to last until April 2025. And in April, if everything works smoothly, we will inform all applicants about the outcome of the evaluation through the evaluation result letters. And then we expect to start the start of the project in September 2025. Next slide about types of applicants and participants. So I will explain the different categories of applicants. But before I start, I'd like to highlight that before submitting your applications, all the beneficiaries, affiliated entities, and associated partners must be registered in the participant register. And my colleague in the last presentation will talk about it. So what are the different categories? Of course, the beneficiaries receiving EU funding for the task execution must be registered and validated. Then affiliated entities, they have a link, either legal, capital link with the beneficiary. They do not sign the grant agreement, but they receive EU funding, and they also must be registered and validated. Associated partners, they are not formal recipients of the EU funding, but they still have to be registered. Subcontractors, you can subcontract a limited part of your project, but not all type of tasks. For example, you cannot subcontract project management tasks, and you have to indicate in your proposal form which task you plan to subcontract, and you have to justify. And then third parties providing in-kind contribution, they are not formal recipients of the EU funding. So proposals must be submitted by a consortium of applicants, and the consortium must appoint a coordinator, and this coordinator will also be the primary contact point for us afterwards during the implementation of the project, and even before, if the proposal is successful, during the grant agreement preparation. Next. So in this slide, you can see a short summary of the evaluation process. I will talk about each step in a more detailed way on the next slide. So after the submission deadline, we will start the admissibility and eligibility check of the proposals. At a certain point, we will also examine that there isn't any applicant that must be excluded from the evaluation. Exclusions are mainly linked to bankruptcy, fraud, tax avoidance, and so on. Then the evaluation of proposals will start with the support of independent external experts. And during this phase, we will already check also the operational capacity of the consortium. And at the end of the evaluation of the proposals, we will set up a ranking list. And with the successful proposals, we will start the preparation of the grant agreement. And during this phase, we will perform also the financial capacity check. So about the admissibility requirements, the first important requirement is that you submit the proposal to the funding and the tender portal in electronic format. It cannot be application via email or post. You also have to respect the deadline. Again, it's 10th of December at 5 p.m. Central European Time. So please don't wait for last minute to submit to avoid any potential problem with technical issues, for example. And the applications must be readable, accessible, and printable. So it means that you have to upload all the documents in a PDF form, and you have to be particularly careful for the detailed budget table, because you will download an Excel document. So be careful when you transform it as PDF that there are not data that are lost. And next, still about admissibility, is that the applications must be complete. It means that all forms and annexes are required. So it is about the part A, that is the administrative form, the application form part B, which is the technical description of the project, and there are the annexes. So the detailed budget table, the list of previous projects for the last 4 years, and the so-called Annex 5, which is the eligibility checklist. And about this Annex 5, I'd like to raise that it's not in the funding and tender portal that you will find it. You have to go to the EISMEA webpage. You have the link on the slide, and the link is also included in the call document. So you can upload the Annex 5 from this page. And there are two forms, in fact, 2 templates, one for topic 1 and one for topic 2. I will talk more in details about it later. Next, please. Now about electronic submission and more in details about the different forms and annexes. So part A is an administrative form that you have to fill in online. It contains general information such as abstract of the proposal and the declarations on behalf of the consortium partners. You will provide administrative data about the participating organizations like name, legal address, contact details, and so on. And you will also have to fill in a summarized budget table. And part B of the proposal is the technical description. Important, it has a page limit of 50 pages. So the evaluators will not take into account any page above this page limit. So when you write your proposal, please make sure that you respect this requirement. And also, when you will download the template for part B, you will see that inside the template, there are instructions that you have to respect. Now, about the detailed budget table, please choose the right template that ends by 90. Also, as I mentioned before, make sure that when you convert to PDF, you don't lose any data. And also very important, when you fill in the budget table, so you see it's one in part A, summarized budget table in part A, and this in part B with the detailed budget table, be consistent so there are no discrepancies between the 2 budget tables. And because if there are discrepancies, the table in part A will prevail. So you have also to provide the list of your key projects during the last 4 years, and again, the Annex 5 about eligibility checklist that is in the EISMEA webpage. Next, please. So here, this is a visualization of the submission system. You can see on the top left where you can edit the part A, and then you will have to upload the part B, and the list of previous projects is included in this part B. You have to upload also the detailed budget table, and in other annexes, it's where you will upload the Annex 5 eligibility check. Now I will talk more in details about this eligibility check that I mentioned several times. So be careful, there are 2 different templates for topic 1 and one for topic 2, because the eligibility criteria are not exactly the same for the 2 topics. As I mentioned, you can find it in the EISMEA webpage about the call. So you have the link again in the slide and in the call document. And it's a very important document, because with this template, you will provide the information showing that you comply with the eligibility requirements that are in section 6 of the call document. So now I will detail these requirements, and I will highlight when there are differences between the topic 1 and topic 2. Next slide. First, about eligibility requirements for applicants. This is the same for the 2 topics. The applicants must be legal entities, and they have to be established in an eligible country. So what are eligible countries under this call? Eligible countries are the EU member states, and those countries who are participating in the single market program. You have the link for the list of this non-EU country participating to the single market program. You have the list on the slide and also on the call document. Next, now about eligibility requirements about the consortium composition. First, geographical representation, and this is the same for topic 1 and for topic 2. A consortium must be composed of at least 6 independent entities from at least 3 different eligible countries. And we are talking about beneficiaries and not about affiliated entities here. And to ensure that we have this geographical diversity, the participation must cover also at least 3 of the groups of countries defined in section 6 of the call. And you have in the slide the names of the countries for each group. So this means that, for example, you could have an entity from entities from a country in group 1, a country in group 2, or a country in group 3, or group 2, 3, and 4, but you could not have entities only from group 2 and 1, for example, because in that case, you would have only 2 groups that are covered and not 3. So be careful about this requirement. And again, when you fill in your Annex 5, it will help you to ensure that you are in line with it. So next slide. Now about the type of entities that must be in the consortium. Proposals must be submitted by a consortium of at least 1 social economy enabling organization per participating country involved in the consortium, and that is operational at national, regional, or local level. Second, at least 1 and maximum 2 social economy enabling organizations active at EU level. And third type, at least 1 training provider, vocational education training, business school, or business support organization with experience in capacity building, training, coaching, and advisory of businesses and management in the social economy. And please note that for the social economy enabling organizations active at EU level, the country of this entity cannot be counted as country for the first one, social economy enabling organizations participating at active at national, regional, and local level. So, for example, if you have the social economy enabling organization active at EU level that is in Belgium, it does not count. Belgium does not count as country for the first category, operational at national, regional, and local level. For that, you will need another organization from Belgium. Next, now about topic 2. The first 2 types of entities, social economy enabling organizations active at national, regional, and local level, and social economy enabling organizations active at EU level are similar to topic 1, but for the 2 other categories, different. First, it's for every participating country in the consortium, 1 mainstream sectoral federation or business support organization with experience in the circular economy being active at the national, regional, and local level, and 1 mainstream sectoral federation or business support organization representing or supporting businesses and with experience in the circular economy that is active at EU level. And here, just I'd like to specify that is the type of entities that must be in the consortium. Doesn't mean that other types of entities are excluded. It can be other types of entities, but these ones must be in the consortium. Next. Now about the financial capacity. During the grant agreement preparation, we will assess the financial capacity of the participant. We examine if participants are stable and have sufficient resources to implement the project. Public bodies or entities receiving less than 60,000 euros will not go through this financial capacity check, but all the rest of applicants will go through it. And you have the possibility to do a check, a self-check through the link that is indicated in a self-assessment through the link that is indicated in the slide. Next, about operational capacity and exclusion. So during the evaluation procedure, the evaluators will examine that the operational capacity of the applicants This means that participants need to have the sufficient know-how, qualifications, and resources for the implementation of the project. And about exclusion, as I mentioned earlier, we examine if applicants should be excluded based on the list that is available in section 7. But again, it's mainly about bankruptcy, fraud, tax avoidance, and so on. Next. Now, summarize about key elements for topic 1, stepping up organizational and entrepreneurial capacity of SMEs in social economy. Project budget, it will be between 1.5 million euros and 2 million euros for a project duration of 36 months. The proposal must provide details on how it is planned to deliver on the 7 mandatory activities that are indicated in the slide and that Karel presented before. When you prepare your proposal, you have to prepare a clear list of deliverables that will cover the main outputs of the various tasks. And among the deliverables, you have to include 2 deliverables that are mandatory, which are progress reports at month 12 and at month 24, to inform about the achievements on the KPI. And about the key performance indicators, you have to cover all the indicators listed in the call document. You have to define target values and including also intermediate targets. Now for topic 2, partnerships for circular value chains between mainstream businesses and SMEs in social economy. The project budget is expected around 1 million euros for a project duration of 36 months. There are 6 mandatory activities listed in the slide, and the proposals must cover, as for topic 1, all of that, and have these 12-month reports as mandatory deliverables, as well as KPIs covered also by target values and intermediate target values. Next slide. Now, I will talk about the evaluation procedure and then about the award criteria. It starts with the admissibility and eligibility check, and those who pass this step will move to the evaluation of the proposals. The evaluation of proposal will be performed by an evaluation committee assisted by independent external experts. The experts will evaluate each proposal against the evaluation award criteria, and I will talk about these criteria in the next slide. And at the end of the evaluation, we will create a ranking list of the proposals based on the scores obtained by the proposals. And at the end of the evaluation, the applicants will be informed about the outcome through the evaluation result letters. With the successful proposals, we will start the preparation of the grant agreement. There will be a proposal that will be put on the reserve list, which means that if for whatever reason we cannot finalize the grant agreement preparation with a selected proposal, we can still fund another project from this reserve list. And then there will be other proposals that will be rejected. So now in the next slide about the award criteria, there are the 3 main evaluation criteria are relevance, quality, and impact. And under quality, you see there are 2 sub-criteria, project design and implementation, and project team and cooperation arrangements. It's very important to know that you have to read very carefully this section, because the evaluators will use them to assess your proposal. It's like a checklist. They will go point by point and analyze if you address this these requirements. So when you plan your project, when you sit down with your project partners, you really have to think how you can address all these criteria described here. So about the criteria, relevance is focusing on clarity and consistency of the project, and how you address the objectives and priority of the goals, and how you address the European transnational dimension. The quality criteria is focusing on the project design and implementation. This is about the technical quality, about the work plan, about the risk management, about cost effectiveness, and so on. Project team and cooperation arrangements, very important when the evaluators are analyzing, for example, the operational capacity of the proposals. And the impact, the evaluators will examine what is the long-term impact of your proposal on the target group, on the general public, how the project is sustainable after the EU funding end, and how realistic are the KPIs. About passing scores, there is a minimum passing score per criteria, and there is also an overall passing score. So if you don't reach the minimum score, it means that your proposal is out of the competition and it will be rejected. So now it will be the last part of my presentation with some advice and a useful link. Next. So first, yeah, please be careful, read very carefully the document, the call documents, the question and answers, and all the templates that are available. You can also find the online manual in the funding and tender portal. When you write your proposal, imagine you are in the shoes of the evaluators and write the proposal in a structured way. Be focused, be specific, don't be vague, use quantification, and be also consistent across the text. Write in a reader-friendly manner, and don't just repeat what is written in the call text. Try to show why your proposal is specific, why it stands out. And again, don't forget about Annex 5, because without Annex 5, your proposal will not be complete. And again, don't wait for last minute for the submission of your proposal. And next. When you build your budget, it has to reflect your deliverables and activities. It has to be cost effective. When you prepare your proposal, please be very clear how you divide your tasks and responsibilities among the project partners. And don't forget that if your proposal is successful, you will have to implement this in practice. During the grant agreement preparation, we cannot do major changes beyond minor technical modification. So you have to be ambitious, but also realistic, because then you would have to implement it in practice. And now my last slide. Here you can find some useful links. First, it's about finding partners. You have the link to the partner search database on the funding and tender portal, and there are already a few organizations that published there. You can also consult experienced applicants who already had successful applications and can give useful advice to write a successful one. If you have any problem, first go to the online manual where you have a step-by-step for the submission. For IT problems like about access rights, technical IT aspects, so you can contact the IT help desk. And for any other question, please send an email to the functional mailbox that is indicated in this slide and in the call document. And the reply, we will not reply directly to your question by email, but it will be published in the Q&A that is in the funding and tender portal. It's one for topic 1 and for topic 2. So that is for my presentation, and many thanks, and give back the floor to Ramonas.
Thank you very much, Romain, for this presentation and for explaining all the aspects of the application to this call. Yes, indeed, we are publishing the answers to the questions, and they are already available at the page of the call in the funding and tender portal. One little clarification, we will not be answering any questions where you ask opinion on the specific project, because we cannot provide such service to all. So we will not be answering or commenting on the specific project ideas, but rather on clarifications of what is not clear in the call text, or you don't understand how to interpret one or another aspect of the call. Okay, let's move on to the next round of questions. The first one, is there a minimum number of social economy SMEs to benefit from the programs overall and each partner country?
Yeah, I see it's indicated for topic 1. What you have to, there are no minimum for topic 1. But what you need to do, you need to define it and justify it when you define your KPIs. It's part of the KPI, so you need to provide it in the in your proposal. For topic 2, there are some mention about it, and there need to be it's indicated at least 150 unique SMEs per participating countries that must be reached. But talking here about SMEs, not necessarily social economy SMEs. So you need to define it in your proposal in the KPI list.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, can an entity be part of more than one project application as partner of consortium?
You can be part of a consortium for topic 1 and part also for topic 2. Being different applications that are for topic 1 and for topic 2.
Okay, thank you. Inside the folder with all templates, there are 3 versions of the budget. Which one should we use? I think it was already replied in your presentation. So the one which is with 9.0, correct? Is the direct participation of local public authorities as partners foreseen in this call? I think the question is because in the previous calls there was the direct requirement, but it is in this call.
Yeah, so it's not indicated in the type of entities that must be in a consortium, but of course they are eligible applicants and may be involved in a consortium.
So as long as you fulfill the minimum eligibility criteria, then you can add other entities. Okay, could you please clarify whether the specific partners that must be added to the consortium, example, one training provider for topic 1 could count towards the geographical criteria of minimum 6 independent entities?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Should we focus on national definition of SME, social economy SMEs, or EU definition? I think here, Carol.
Yeah, replied already. That's so check the definition that is in the social economy action plan.
Exactly. So we are aiming at the European social economy definition, right, Carol?
Exactly.
That's clear.
Okay, thank you. Topic 2. Research centers and universities can be involved.
Yeah, here's the same reply that for the local authorities before. As far as the eligible participants, they can be involved, even if they are not in this list of entities that must be involved.
Okay, thank you. How do you evaluate an organization if an organization is social economy enabling organization? If an organization works with different types of SMEs, does it need to be working only for social economy SMEs?
Not necessarily. So you have to justify it in your proposal that your organization fits with the definition that is about social economy enabling organization. You have a definition in the call document. There were already some questions also in the Q&A in the funding portal. So you have to show that your organization can cover this definition of the social economy enabling organization.
Okay, thank
but
you.
It's not necessarily working exclusively with social economy enterprise.
In any case, it needs to be clearly proven in the application that they are fitting in one or another type of the definitions that are required by the eligibility criteria. Do all partners need to be social companies?
No, I think it was clear also from the consortium composition that it's not required as such.
Okay, so basically you need to check the section 6 of the call for proposals, look at the topic to which you are applying, and then you will see that the criteria for each of the topics. Is there a limit of the characters for each section of the application form? It seems that the limit is just for the pages.
So you have a limit of 50 pages for the part B, and for the part A, it's online. You have some limits that you will find when filling in the template for the different parts.
And for part B, be careful because everything that will be more than 50 pages will be simply blanked out and we will not be able to see anything. Can you please give exact eligibility criteria, namely in terms of size and employees, number of social companies associations? We don't have such criteria, I think.
Yeah, please go to the definition that is in the social economy action plan.
We have only criterion for the type,
Not
but
so
not for the size.
But there is not a criteria for size, no.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But overall, just it's the target group is of course SME size, huh? So just
as
for
the direct beneficiaries of
exactly,
the activities, actually.
But not for the eligible partners, huh? So there is no size requirement.
Exactly. Thanks a lot, Karel. Is Annex 5 mandatory?
Yes, it's mandatory. Without the Annex 5, the proposal will not be complete. And it's mandatory, and I think it's very important for you to use it also to be sure that your consortium is eligible.
And actually, Annex 5 will help you to make sure that you have eligible consortium, because there is kind of checklist for you. Do we have any other questions on the administrative aspects of the call? It seems that we have finished with those questions. Okay, let's move on to the next presentation on financial provisions. Here I would like to ask my financial colleagues, Aniocha Pardo Elordi and Jacqueline Stipstein, to take the floor and to present you the financial provisions of the call. Ladies, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ramunas. Good morning, everyone. As mentioned by Ramunas, we are Ainhoa and Jacqueline. We are financial officers in EISMEA, and we are gonna give you the financial provisions for this call. Next, please.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So which financial document do you need for submission? The first one is the summarized budget table. You will find it, we called it Annex 1 Part A, and the second one is the detailed budget table. The budget table should be based on detailed, reasonable, and accurate estimates. Your detailed budget table is a mandatory annex and has to be uploaded as part of your proposal. Please note that the amount entered into the summarized budget table must correspond with the ones calculated in the detailed budget table. In case of discrepancies, the amount in the summarized budget will prevail. Next slide, please.
So the detailed budget table template, once you go to the template, you will find this document that you have on your right. And the document has different tabs below. So we're gonna go one by one so that you better understand how to fill it in and to make it easier for you. The first page is the introductory pages. They not need to be submitted. The second sheet is the start, where you need to fill in the project data and add all the working packages of your project. Then the next one, it's composed of 5 sheets, which are the instructions, the start, the detail table, and the consolidated table per participant and calculated automatically, which must be used in that order in order to create your detailed reporting table. It's important that you submit this table, one for each of the beneficiaries that are part of your consortium, and that you do it in a single PDF. Please also note that at a later stage, you might be asked to send the corresponding Excel version by email to EISMEA, so please keep it. This reporting table must contain estimated costs. And important for you also to know that there are 2 types of cells. There are the white cells that are the ones where you need to enter the data. And there are also the blue cells that are the ones that get calculated automatically after you have filled in your table. Next, please.
This is the sheet 3, the detailed budget table. The detailed budget table is broken down by cost category and by work packages. To enter the budget you have to enter the budget for each cost category and for each work package. If you have no costs for certain category, please leave the box empty. You have to enter only the eligible cost. You have also to list each item only once, and you have to list each cost in its main work packages. Also, please use the best estimate as possible. You have also to know that for technical reasons, the number of work packages has to be the same in all cost categories. Next.
So on sheet number 4, you will find the consolidated table per participant, which shows different cost heading per work packages. And upon the correct entry of data in the detailed budget table, this table is automatically calculated by the system. So please check that both data they match correctly. Instead, the sheet number 5, it's the consolidated table per project, which shows the cost per work package, per participant. It needs to be manually filled in by the coordinator and must match the financial data entered and automatically calculated in other tables and budget in part A. Next, please.
Here you have the detailed budget table. The detailed budget table is presented per participant, per work packages, and per cost category. In the next slide, we will go through each project cost categories and all project incomes. Next.
So the first category is the personnel cost. The personnel cost is divided in subcategories. The first one is the employees. Employees eligible are those employed with a contract or equivalent with the beneficiary and that are assigned to the action. Eligible costs include costs as salaries, social security contributions, taxes, and other costs linked to the remuneration. This calculation must be done in monthly rates for each person who will work on the action to be presented in the detailed budget table. Just for your information, it will be only at the reporting stage that will be done in daily rate. But for the at GAP stage, it will only be monthly rates. The second subcategory is natural persons under a direct contract and seconded persons. Natural persons under direct contract are civil, freelance, or experts, and they are eligible if they work under similar conditions as employees with supervision, office presence, and so on. Their costs are not very different from those for personnel performing similar tasks. The work they perform belongs to the beneficiary, and cost declares amounts solely to remuneration plus taxation cost for the person in question. This category also includes the seconded person by a third party against payment. Next, please. The next subcategory under the personnel cost is the SME owners, a natural person without salary. SME owners are eligible if they are the owners or co-owners, beneficiary of the action, and SME not receiving a salary. And in the portal, you can see the SME status declared. Natural person beneficiaries are those beneficiaries that are natural person not receiving a salary, as mentioned before. And the cost calculation method, it's a unit cost on daily rate multiplied by the number of days equivalent work on the action. You will also have the template and you will have to follow the commission decision attached. Next, please. Next, please. Yes, thank you so much. So this is an overview how you will see it on the detailed budget table. You have the category A, personnel cost, and mention divided by work packages, and you will have the type of employee. You will have to choose. You will have, as I mentioned before, the type of rate will be monthly, and then you will have to add the rate and the time working for the action. You will have to add the cost on the main work packages, but if they are working in other work packages, please also mention it. And also add a description where when you provide sufficient information on the job they are going to be performing. Next, please.
Here you will see the second cost category, subcontracting. So subcontracting are related to the implementation of tasks that are part of the action. The subcontractor should work autonomously. They cannot work under direct supervision of one beneficiary. There are some conditions for subcontracting. Only as Romain mentioned, only a limited part of the action can be subcontracted. So the core task cannot be subcontracted. Subcontracting must be described in Annex 1, and they also need to be budgeted in Annex 2. In some cases, they can also be approved ex post. And if the total amount of subcontracting exceed 30% of the total costs, they must be justified in your application. They have to be declared as actual cost incurred, and you must ensure that the principle of best value for money and lower price are applied. And of course, in subcontracting, there can be no conflict of interest. So below you see a short table of what you have to fill in. So by work packages, you have to enter the subcontract short name. The cost should be actual cost. You have to specify if those subcontracts will be applied in other work packages as well. And please give a description of the task or activity which will be subcontracted. Next slide. In this section of the technical description of Annex 1 Part B, you have to give some details of the subcontracted task, and you have to explain the reason why those tasks need to be subcontracted. Next slide, please. The third cost category concerns purchase cost, which are related to the contract to get goods, works, and services that are necessary to carry out the action. Those contracts cannot cover the implementation of the action, but those purchases itself are necessary to carry out the action. An example of can be the purchase of a printer or the care bridges. So the purchase costs are divided in 3 subcategories. We will go through it one by one: the travel cost, the equipment, and the cost for other goods and services. Next slide, please.
So the first subcategory is the travel, accommodation, and subsistence. It is important that they are budgeted only for the personnel working on the action. They must be justified. They need to be necessary under the action, planning the description of the action, and supported by the relevant documents, and follow the usual practices of the beneficiary. It is important for you to understand that they must be budgeted as unit cost. Unit cost means a prefixed amount, and that actual cost can also be used if the destination country is not covered in the Commission decision. For the unit cost values, please follow the Commission decision, and please take into account that there has been a second amendment with a bit of higher rates, so will be even a bit more interesting for you. The calculations for travel costs are made on the basis of the distance between the departure and arrival point. Please take into account that normally the departure point it's where the offices are, and the arrival point is where you're going to have your mission, your meeting, and so on. In the commission decision, there is also a link with a flight and rail calculator, which is very easy, friendly to use, where you will get the number of kilometers, and according to that, you will see in the commission decision that there are different rates according to the kilometers. Instead, for the accommodation and subsistence rate, you will choose the country you're traveling, and then you will see the amount for both things. Next, please. So here it's an example of the table, and as you can see, there are 2 columns. There is one where you have the actual cost, which you will use for those exceptions not covering the commission decision, but normally you will go to the columns of unit cost. There you have 2 columns in white. The first one, the amount per unit, so you will get it, you will take it from the commission decision, and then the number of units. Number of units, it's equal to the number of nights, number of people, and so on. Please also give as much information as possible in the description so that we understand what is your starting point, your ending point, where is the meeting, how many people, how many nights, and so on, so that it's all clear and that we can double check that the calculations are appropriate. Next, please.
Equipment. It could be new or second-hand equipment. You can use both of them. The renting and leasing. The basic rule is depreciation. That means that only the portion of the cost that correspond to the rate of the actual use during the duration of the action can be taken into account. There must be the equipment must be recorded in your asset register, following the international accounting standards or the usual practice of the beneficiary. So on the table, so here again, you have to fill in the equipment short name, the price, you have to indicate the depreciation method, the number of months allocated to the action, the rate of use for the action. You have also to indicate if this equipment will be used in other work packages, and again, give a clear description of the tasks for which this equipment will be needed. Next slide, please.
So the last subcategory, it's the other cost. Other costs, as an example, are things like catering, the rent of the meeting room, printed any type of leaflets or information, dissemination, translations, publications. Also, that includes the financial statements certificate, the financial guarantees, and so on. They must be purchased specifically for the implementation of the action. They must be follow the rule of best value for money or lowest price, and they have to be declared as a cost actually incurred. Please make sure that the items are listed in the correct category. And there is a detailed information to be provided in the description of task activity column. Next, please.
Indirect costs. Indirect costs concern the running or the operating cost. They have no direct link to the action implementation, and they cannot be attributed directly to the action. An example is the stationery, the rent of the office, the electricity, etc. No breakdown of those costs is required, and they will be calculated automatically by the system, and it represents 7% flat rate of all eligible costs. Next slide, please.
So we have guided you through the whole template, through the whole table, and you will see that at the very end, you will get a very flashy green color, which is contains the project income. And this is subdivided in different parts. the EU contribution, the grant, which is the 100% for cost category, and then 43 and 60% for all the other cost category. Then you also have the part with the revenues and the contributions by third parties, where you will have the income generated by the action, such as direct revenues or receipts. And you will also have the financial contributions from third parties. You will also have the last part, what is the own resources or the own contribution of the beneficiary. Please take into account that in-kind contributions for free are allowed, but cost neutral, and they cannot be declared as cost. Next, please.
So now, no, there was one slide, but I didn't see it. It was just a few words about the payment arrangement. So after the signature of Uganda agreement, you will get a pre-financing. This pre-financing will allow you to to start working of the project. It will represent 50% of the maximum grant amount. So it will represent 50% of the maximum grant amount, and you will get it 30 days before after the signature, between 30 days before the signature of the grant agreement and at least 10 days before the starting date. You will also get an interim payment after approval of the interim report. And at the end of the project, based on the approval of the financial and technical report, we will proceed to payment of the balance. It could be an additional payment, or it could also be a recovery if you receive more money than foreseen. So please note that all the payment will be made to the account of the coordinator, which will be responsible to dispatch it amongst all the beneficiaries. Next slide. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, colleagues. We see that you are very active with the questions, so let's move on to the questions now. The first question: does a lawyer or financial consultant count in the personal costs?
The question will be if the lawyer is needed for the implementation of the action. So yeah, I cannot really tell you per se, because I don't know what the lawyer or the financial consultant will be doing, but if they are needed for the implementation of the action, yes.
And I think here the question is about what qualifies as the personal costs.
Yeah, but if they are necessary for the action, yes. But
if it's part of
and for personal cost, we accept someone who is either in the payroll of the company or the second option was, remind us.
If they are also as freelance and so on, they can also be accepted. And then if they are just working a little part on the action, then we just put they will just put the percentage of time that they are working for the action, and that's it.
But for the freelancer, there are specific conditions which I mentioned in the code text as well. Indeed. So this has to be fulfilled. But as colleagues has mentioned, first of all, it needs to be proven in the application that those positions are needed, and then there are certain conditions for the freelancer to be accepted as the staff cost. Okay, next question. For the previous call, the rounding in the Excel files and the rounding on the portal did not correspond, leading to the slight difference in the budget. Is this issue fixed, or small differences, few euros, are simply to be ignored?
I don't know to what call you are referring to, but normally they should match. It is true that when you submit your detailed budget table, at the end, in the own resources in the green part, there is one specific tab that requires you to decrease 1 cent. But besides that, the amounts should match, and normally they match.
But in any case, we as financial officer, we analyze what is in Annex 1 Part A and Annex 1 Part B. If there is a discrepancy, we inform you. We will, if necessary, we will send the file back at your level, and then you can adapt. But of course, if there is very small discrepancy, we'll accept that. Huh?
Yes, but this will happen only if the project is accepted. There will be no corrections possible at the application phase and at the evaluation phase.
Indeed.
So yes, the rounding difference might appear, and then it will be solved. If your project is successful, it will be solved in the grant agreement preparation phase. For subcontracting, is it mandatory to present detailed budget in application? What are the core activities? Well, can you answer the first part?
Yes, you need to foresee it. If you're gonna subcontract some services, you need to foresee them in advance. You need to do your estimates. Of course, we will not request for names or so at this stage, but they will need to foresee. So you need to present them in the budget table, of course.
Exactly. So basically, only one line subcontracting is not enough, because then evaluators will not be able to understand what for the subcontracting is. The question is, what are the core activities? The core activities is the activities that you need to perform in order to reach the work plan of your project. So basically, it depends really on the project, and here we cannot answer you what would be the core activities of your individual project. Okay, next question. Could we include the cost of a digital platform to support partnership agreement, digital to business to business?
I will say that if this digital platform it's necessary to perform your project, yes, and normally they are included under purchase cost.
Okay, thank you. Could you please explain when a financial guarantee is required?
Yes, we require financial guarantee in case of the financial capacity of the coordinator is weak or insufficient, but you have to know that we try to avoid that. We prefer in case of a consortium to change the coordinator, which one who has a financial capacity acceptable.
Okay, thank you. The Commission covers 90% of the expenses according to the call for proposals. Does it cover all costs or only a portion? I think here I can answer myself. Basically, you propose the budget, and then on the total amount of the budget, be it 1 million or be it more, the funding percentage is applied, and we don't distinguish for which cost category you spend the grant. It's up to you really to see for which cost category you will spend the grant. Next question, how much is the financial rate? I think it was answered by Romain. It's 90%, correct, Romain?
Yes, it's this 90%.
It's 90% for both topics.
Yeah.
So grant amount is 1 million with 90% co-funding rate means that the total eligibility of budget can be 10% larger still. Or if not, co-funding is already committed in advance, also 1.5 million, as long as the maximum grant stays around 1 million. Yes, you answered your question yourself. Basically, the maximum grant is around 1 million, and this should not exceed 90% of the total cost of the project. So if you have 1.5 million total cost and you ask for the maximum grant around 1 million, it will still be okay. Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, Roman, please correct me if I'm wrong, 1 million is the maximum grant.
Yes, around what it's written around 1 million.
Around 1 million, exactly. So it should be around 1 million, and if it is a little bit more, it has to be justified by. I think the next question is for men. Again, could we include travel costs for SMEs, study visit, B2B, etc.? Is it foreseen in the call?
Yes, indeed, it's foreseen in the call, so that if they have some needs for transnational activities, so that can be covered by the travel cost.
Okay, thank you. And now a question to the financial colleagues. If you organize an event with international participants, are catering costs submitted in C1 travel subsistence or C3 other, and can they be actual costs, or you need to use the subsistence allowance per participants, or is it both allowed? So basically, there is a, if I understand correctly from the question, there is a partnership meeting. All partners are traveling to the partnership meeting from different countries. And the question is, how do they cover the catering costs of the, let's say, partnership lunch or partnership dinner?
So if they are a part of the personnel, or they are speakers or so on, this should be entered in the category of travel, accommodation, and subsistence. If they are not, if they are participants that they are inviting and so on, normally according to what the call mentions, they can be covered either through other direct costs or subcontracting. This is a bit specific on this call, I must say. So yeah, it depends on the people who is attending those meetings. But they are both options, and they are mentioned in the call. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Can the grant amount be distributed with the varying co-funding rates among partners as long as the maximum grant amount is respected on a project budget level? I think that the grant amount can vary, but the funding rate per partner cannot exceed the funding rate of the project, meaning 90%. So none of the partners cannot receive more than 90%, but if you want that some of the partners will receive less, that's okay. Correct, colleagues?
Yeah.
Okay. Travel cost for mobilities is of not personal, is what budget category must be added? Roman, can you explain what kind of mobility this could be?
I think it's when we mentioned that for transnational activities, the cost of participants to workshops can be covered by the consortium. So in that case, it's what colleagues presented about travel, subsistence, and accommodation cost.
So it should be unit costs.
Yeah, these participants, that if it's needed, so to cover the cost of these experts, for example, participating to a transnational workshop, it's through these categories.
Okay.
I think that's it. No, I know. I'm checking.
Yes, indeed.
Is there a maximum budget or percentage of grant for subcontracting?
Normally, as mentioned in the presentation, it is 30%. But if it is justified, we can go more. But normally 30%.
Exactly. It has to be really justified, because
yes.
Otherwise, if you will subcontract a lot of activities, then it would mean that you don't have operational capacity to implement the project, and your project will be scored lower.
Indeed.
Okay, thank you. Do we need to know which subcontractors will be hired, or can we just plan a budget and later decide on the subcontractors? Colleagues?
Perhaps I can reply that you don't decide it.
Yes, you don't need to know it as my colleague explained on the subcontracting part. You don't really need to know in advance. But if you plan that you're gonna need some contractors, you need to make some estimations, and you need to be as accurate as you can be at this early stage, let's say.
And don't forget that you have to follow the principle of best value for money. So that means that you will maybe get 3 different offers, and you have to then take a decision during the project, which one with the lower price or the best value for money. So you can not know in advance which subcontractor you will choose.
Okay, so basically, when you are describing the subcontracting, you need clearly indicate what this subcontracting is for. So you don't need to have a name if you don't have. That's okay, but the clear description of the task should be there. For the catering, response was not clear. I think there what we meant that if those who are traveling are covered by the travel and subsistence and accommodation unit costs, then everything is there. If you have some participants who don't travel, let's say the local ones, etc., then for those you use the actual costs. Correct? And then depending subcontracting or not subcontracting, it depends if what contract you have, I think. Right?
I would advise also for that to consult the annotated grant agreement. The link is in the call document, so it provides some details about this type of cost.
Okay. The question is co-funding 10% if is not per cost item, if we understood well. So one invoice can be fully paid with the grant, another invoice 100% by co-funding. In the reporting stage, we are not asking you to indicate which invoices you paid for with which money. You need to provide the full amount of your expenditure that was assigned to the project, and then it's your internal cuisine to in your organization to identify from which pocket you have paid this invoice, fully or partially or another way. Okay, voluntary work. Is it possible to consider work voluntary, for example, to support the co-funding? I don't think that it is allowed, if I remember correctly. But we need probably to consult the provisions, and then we will reply this question in writing. If an organization has a long-term subcontractor in the UK pre-Brexit, example, a designer, can they still be paid from the budget from the grant of or co-funder? The provisions of UK subcontracting we still need to check, I think, or can you answer at the right now the question? We will check the answer and we will provide it in the question and answers because we want to be sure there were some latest developments in UK access to the procurement market in EU, so we need to verify it before we answer. But so the answer will be provided in the question and answer section under the call. Co-funding completely in personal cost is valid, right? As I mentioned, we don't ask through which category you co-fund. We only ask for total cost that you had for the project, and then we apply the funding percentage. Do we have any other questions? If not, thank you very much to the financial colleagues. And we move on to the next presentation on the very important topic on how you need to register your organization in order to be able to apply for the funding in case you have not registered it yet. And our colleague Maria Domenica from Central Validation Service of Research Executive Agency will present you this topic. Maria Domenica, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ramunas. Good morning, everyone. My name is Maria Domenica Cugnidoro from the Central Validation Service that is in the REA, the Research Executive Agency of the Commission. Today, I'm going to explain you how to register your organization in the participant register and obtain your PIC. And you need to know that this operation is necessary for your project participation. So this is the presentation outline, the topics that we will be see together. First of all, I would like to introduce you the Central Validation Service and its role in your project participation. Then we will see how to register your organization in the system. Then we will move to the legal validation of your entity, and the legal entity appointed representative is the LEAR. Then we will speak about the communication, how the communication is carried out, and I will give you the links to some important guidance documents. Next slide, please. So in the Central Validation Service, we verify the legal existence and legal status of the entity against the supporting documents that we request you at the moment you need to register your entity in the participant register. We validate the appointment of the LEAR, which is the legal entity appointed representative. We validate legal changes of validated entities. We assess the universal takeover of valid entities when, for example, in case of mergers. And we also have other tasks that are linked to the correct registration of your organization in the system. Next slide, please. Right. So first of all, I would like to underline the fact that for any organization that wants to participate to an EU call has to be registered in the participant register and get their PIC, the participant identification code. So how do we do that? So let's say, assume that I'm an organization, I would like to participate to a call. At the proposal stage, I have to go to the participant register that is in the EU funding and tenders portal. Next slide, please. First of all, I will need to check whether my organization is registered already with a PIC. So I will go in the white window there on the left-hand side, and I will try to, I will put the name of my organization to check whether the organization has already a registration number. In case not, in case I find it, I need to use the PIC of my organization that is already in the system. If not, I need to register my organization from the beginning. So I click in register your organization. And by clicking this, next slide, please. So this will start a workflow of several steps. And I will need to include the information of my organization in the system. Like this, there is identification, so I need to put the legal name, VAT number, organization data, legal information. And in order to be able to reply to these questions, I will need some documents at hand, so it will be practical. But anyway, if you don't manage to register your organization in one go, you can always go back to the registration process the day after, or also a couple of days after. At this moment, I am the self-registrant. Okay, I register my organization. I'm called the self-registrant. I'm the authorized user, and I can assign other people to be my backup, so other self-registrant, in case I'm not available tomorrow, or I leave the entity, I leave the company, so another person can continue with the registration of my organization and can be in touch with the Central Validation Service in case of need of legal documents. Okay. After this, the registration is completed, and I will get my new participant identification code, the so-called PIC number. At this stage, the PIC will be in a declared status. It means that your data are declared but are not double-checked yet by the Central Validation Service. Next slide, please. But you have your PIC, non-valid PIC. Okay, in this page, we see the validation process overview. In the first session, we have seen already the registration that is done at the proposal stage by your services. Then we move to the second station, and there is the verification and validation of legal data This is done by the central validation service on the basis of the legal document that you have provided to us. So this is done in communication, in collaboration between our services and your organization. Next, next station, the green one, is the LEAR, so the appointment of the legal entity appointed representative. Once the PIC is valid, the entity has to nominate a legal entity appointed representative, which is the bridge between the entity and the commission services. And then, if needed, there is the financial capacity assessment. Throughout all these stations, the only communication channel is the participant register. Next slide, please. So this is like a summary of the documents that we request for the validation of the PIC of the legal entity in the participant register. We ask the legal entity form. You will get a template while you register in the participant register. Then we request a recent VAT extract, a recent registration extract. For public bodies, we also need a law, decree, decision of creation. And then other documents like treaties in case we are dealing with international organizations, or statutes in case it's needed. Next slide. So again, the validation process overview. We are now after the verification of the PIC. After the PIC is valid, after we have validated the data against the supporting document, the entity has to nominate a LEAR. It's important to say that the LEAR appointment is mandatory for all participants. So without a LEAR, you cannot sign the grant agreements, basically. Next slide, please. And the LEAR, once is appointed, it's our trusted point of contact with the organization. The LEAR, so the self-registrants, now it's at the side, but the role is now, the main role of contact point is the LEAR role. So the LEAR can notify the EU of changes in the legal data and legal status, submits legal and financial document if required, manages access rights, etc. And then they can also nominate backups, that here they are called account administrators. So in case the LEAR is on holiday, is not available, or leaves the entity, then there are always account administrators that can access into the PIC and can respond to the request from our services. Next slide, please. Yeah. So in order to validate a LEAR appointment, we request to the applicant that the LEAR, the entity provides us with some specific documents. We have the LEAR appointment letter that has to be signed by the legal representative of the entity and the LEAR. The LEAR is appointed by the legal representative of the entity, that is the person that can engage the entity as a whole. So for this, we have the chain of trust between the entity and our services, the commission services. Then we need the proof of official proof of identity of both the legal representative and the appointed LEAR. And then we need the proof of empowerment of the legal representative. We need to check that the person that appoints the LEAR has the power to do so. Next slide, please. All communication is done exclusively via the participant register. So this I told you before, but I wanted to underline this fact because it's the only channel of communication, the participant register. And the messages, our messages, are notified to you via email, to you as a self-registrant or LEAR, via an email that you will receive, and it looks like this print screen in this page. Okay, so then you are sure that you got a communication from our services. Next slide, please. So, but problems can happen. What happens if you have lost the access to your PIC? In this issue, we have distinguished two different scenarios. In case of declared PIC, so when the PIC is not valid yet, for example, in case the self-registrant left the organization and there are no backups, so no one has access to the declared PIC, so the non-valid PIC, a new PIC needs to be created, and the REA validation service have to be informed, because then we need to link the old PIC, declared PIC, to the new one. But in case of a valid PIC, if the LIR is not available anymore and there are no account administration, there is the need to appoint a new LIR. Okay, and for this, there is the LIR recovery procedure. So you don't have to create a new PIC, but you can still use the same, but using the LIR recovery procedure. And you have the hyperlink here below that brings you to the funding and tenders portal, where the LIR recovery procedure can be initiated. Next slide, please. And this is the list of guidance documents with their links that I suggest you to check during your registration, and it will be useful for you in case you have questions. There is a question and answer session, there is the online manual, and all information that you may need during your registration. My presentation is done. Yeah. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I'm available to reply.
Thank you very much, Maria Domenica, for this presentation. As you have heard, everyone has to have a PIC, and if you have lost the PIC, then all the guidelines are provided. Let's move to the questions, and here we will, for the first question, we will need also support of Maria Domenica's colleague, Florin Puiu. Can you please give us more information about the financial capacity as the criterion for the lead partner coordinator? Is there exact revenue rate or turnover ratio as a requirement? Florin.
Thank you very much, Ramonas, and good afternoon, good morning, everyone. The short reply to this question is no. We do not impose a minimum threshold of revenues, of operating revenues for a certain company or a certain participant, because like that we would limit the number of participants to access EU funds. We have our methodology to evaluate the capacity, the financial capacity of participants, whether they can meet short-term obligations, long-term obligations, if they have a certain profitability, but we will not impose a limit to the turnover. All right, this is the short answer and the long answer also in the same time.
And is there any possibility or a way to the potential applicants to assess their financial capacity, to do the self-assessment?
Yes, there is one. You can search, I think you can search on Google, even on Google, you can just type for financial capacity assessment for EU funds, and you have a simulator on how you can evaluate your own financial capacity. It's a simulator. It doesn't mean that the results you obtain will be the same with the results we obtain, because it depends on how we classify the financial items in the balance sheet or in the income statements. But you can try with that simulator, and you find more or less the result that we could obtain when we would assess your financial capacity.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
We can also provide this link when we will be editing the questions and answers.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Florin. How long does it take to get the PIC and all approved? So actually there are two questions, Maria Maria Domenica, how long does it take to obtain the PIC, and how long does it usually take to have the entity validated?
Okay, to get the PIC, you can get, if you have all your information at hand, you can get the PIC immediately. So like when you do it, it's like 7 minutes or so.
But it's
This
basically
is to
a matter
get
of the typing speed, I would say,
yeah,
right?
yeah, it's very fast, in fact. But to have it approved, it can take from 3 to 5 days, more or less, if all the documents are there and they are all correct. So about 5 days, yeah, 3 to 5. I must say that concerning the LIAR, yes, it's yeah, it doesn't depend only by us, but also for the activation of the LIAR account, we collaborate with Digit. In fact, when everything is correct on the legal side, the activation of the account, the LIAR account, is done by the IT colleagues. And in collaboration actually with you, because the IT colleagues will give you the LIAR, the PIN number via email, and then you will need to activate. So it also depends on you.
Okay, thank you very much for this answer. Validation of the PIC and LIAR naming is only happens in case of a project is selected for funding, right?
Yes, exactly. It's done once at the first participation to a call, to a project, when you get you are selected. And then you don't have this all over again. Once you have your PIC valid, you can participate to the next calls with the same PIC, valid PIC. You don't have to register it again.
Okay, thank you very much. If a multinational business is an associated partner, but they are not yet in the PIC register, they might not succeed to get in there before 10 December. Can the organization then be added as associated partner later? I think Maria Domenica already answered this question, that for being able to apply, you need just to declare your organization. And this is done very quickly. So basically, you need to enter your basic information for your organization and you are obtaining the PIC. But you don't need to be validated by the deadline. Next, if an organization has a negative financial assessment, could apply anyway. Is there any risk of rejection or maybe just the request of financial guarantee? This question we cannot answer. I mean, you can apply in any case. That's no problem. But the issue whether you will be asked financial guarantee or not, it will be assessed at the individual level, and we need to take all the risk into account. So this it really depends on the individual level. And I think we don't have any more questions for validation. So thanks a lot, colleagues, for presentation and for the answers. We still have some questions left from the previous presentations. Let's move on to them. To what extent does the support program for social economy enterprises need to be the same across the partner countries? What is the margin for adapting the modules to each context? Or is it possible to conduct different support programs in each country? Karel, I think that's the question for you. Romain, can you maybe answer this question?
Yes, sure.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's possible to adapt to the different realities.
Hello.
Karel
Yeah,
is
Karel?
Karel wants to reply.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay, sorry, my headphone was not working with me. Yeah, of course, and the adaptation to the country is super important. And there should not be a general approach to all member states. That's also why I introduced in the beginning the regional spectrum, and that you have to do this research as well, and this assessment of your beneficiaries in your target region, and also define what type of beneficiaries you want to target. That does not mean that these learnings and that these models can be developed jointly and then adapted to the territory. So that is a bit the idea behind. Some things are very generic when it's about, for example, tools for financial management. There will be not much differences, but other things might be much more, for example, like innovation policy, place-based innovation trajectories, that is very much related to the field and to the territory.
Okay, thank you. I think, Carol, your camera also did not want to turn on. While projects are encouraged to target SMEs that were not supported by the previous EU projects, does that also apply to the applicants to the call? Carol, I think.
We don't want to exclude, or we don't want to, let's say, have beneficial partners. That is not the point. The point of my intervention at that question was that we want to make sure that as much as possible areas in the EU and beneficiaries are covered. If there is an overlap with previous project, that is not necessarily a problem. We want just to avoid that always the same type of consortia are repeating and applying for social economy capacity building type of calls without a justification if these beneficiaries are actually in need, or where without an adaptation to the circumstances. If you see again to the eligibility criteria and the different member state areas that need to be covered, that is also to push in terms of geographic balance, and to avoid that projects are focusing on just a few areas in the EU with a lot of common characteristics, and with that, for example, have a lot of that already have a certain degree of maturity, whereas others are left aside. So that is a bit the intelligence behind. I hope
exactly. We have a very important section of the geographical balance where we require that at least 3 country groups from presented 4 are covered in your partnership. And this is, as Carol was mentioning, we want to encourage wider cooperation in Europe, not only one part or one region. Okay, can we have letters of support of social companies and organizations? They are not required by the call, and therefore they are not needed. Topic 2, one mainstream sectoral federation with experience in circular operational national, can an international organization with chapters in a nation participate if the national chapter has no legal standing in the country? We are not commenting on the individual cases. You need to read the eligibility conditions, and you need to make sure that the eligibility conditions are fulfilled. Next one, is there any kind of platform where SMEs in the EU can contact each other to create consortia to participate in the call for proposal? Is there any facility to create contact between SMEs in the same sector of the social economy? I believe this question is fourfold. One, how to find the partners. I think Romain can answer to this question.
Yes,
and
you can.
Karel, for you, maybe about the SME cooperation. So we start with Romain about the partnership search.
Yes, on the first part, you can go to the funding and tender portal in the page about each topic, and you will find this partner search functionality, and there are already a few organizations who published either what they offer or what they are looking for.
And Karel, do we have any facility to create contacts between the SMEs of the social economy?
It's a tricky question, but it's very interesting because the Commission is currently working on a stakeholder collaboration platform under the industrial strategy for all the industrial ecosystems, and also for proximity and social economy. Currently, the one for tourism is already online, but in the coming weeks, the one for proximity and social economy will also be online. I'm in doubt whether this will be still in time to help as a sort of matchmaking or to find project partners, but still I want to flag it that it's something that is coming up and that might be beneficial also when projects are, for example, operating to create, for example, a community of practice, exchange on project developments and ideas and so on and so forth. To conclude, it will be probably too late for this project, but in future it might be certainly of help.
I mean, for partner search, already Romain explained that it is a tool. So for the project implementation, it might still be on time.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thanks, guys. Can a university be considered as training provider? You prove it in the application, and then there is no problem, but you need to prove it in the application.
Mm-hmm.
Can service of social enterprises be subcontracted? Example, social catering for an event. Usually they don't offer the lowest price. As long as you follow the procurement rules of your country, any organization can be subcontracted as long as it is according to the rules.
If I may, exactly, there are numerous features in public procurement legislation that allow, for example, to choose for social enterprises. So we, of course, want to warmly recommend you to use those clauses. Huh?
The next question, do we have person months that are for SME owners as in Horizon or as individual people, as for example, Erasmus? If I understand the question correct, right, if not, then please rephrase. But the question is, do we have SME owners unit costs as in Horizon? Yes. The same rules apply, the same rates apply also here if the partner can declare SME owners under the staff costs. Those unit costs are applicable here as well. For topic 1, does the social economy SMEs be only active in the green circular economy sector, or can it be in any sector, tourism, social care, etc.? Carol.
This question is a big concern to me because no, not at all. So the first topic is it's not green or circular restricted. So I really hope it was clear from the presentation that the first topic is very broad for the entire and targets the entire social economy, whereas the second one focuses specifically on circular social enterprise, but they can also be present in various sectors. You have depending on the waste stream, for example, but also I know in tourism services, because it was mentioned here, circular activities, for example, for services for reuse of certain equipment, cleaning services, etc., are also existing. But the first topic is social economy broad. That's also why in the scope we asked to specify on which sector, which type of social economy organization, the geographical aspect and the maturity aspect to identify your target group and beneficiary. I hope I clarify this because it's very important, of course.
Okay, thanks a lot for this clarification. I think now it should be clearer. Can we see the names, organizations of the participants in the info session? No, unfortunately, due to the data protection rules, we cannot share the personal data to everyone. But after the session, you will receive an email which is called thank you email. And if you will respond to this email with your professional email address, we will collect those email addresses together, and then we can share those email addresses with you. Because when you will respond to us, we know that you expressed the wish and also gave us the permission to share your email address. When you were registering to the session, there was not such permission. So because of the data protection rules, we cannot share it with anyone. Does the limit of 50 pages also include the list of previous projects? Yes, because that's part of the part B. Could we apply simultaneously to both the calls? Yes and no. No, because the scope of the topics is different. So if you will submit exactly the same application to both topics, you will not be selected in at least one of them because the topics are different. But the same consortium can apply for each of the topics without any problems. Then, can you confirm if Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kosovo, North Macedonia, Montenegro, and Kosovo and Serbia are eligible? We will double check and we will post question and answer. But as far as I remember, all those countries finished all negotiation procedures, and all those countries are fully eligible to participate in funding. But as I mentioned, we will double check in order to be sure, and we will post question and answer answering to you exactly if all the countries are eligible. Concerning financials between consortium members, from a training provider perspective, it seems that a big chunk of euros would need to be allocated to this partner. How will this be evaluated? I think that's
I can answer, but
yeah.
this is really depending on your proposal, what type of focus you want. This is so specific on the proposal that the proportionality will be evaluated. That the balance between the activities that you propose and the provider that will execute them will be assessed. But reading the call for proposal, there is a lot of room for maneuver between different focuses as well. There are also a different set of mandatory activities. So I would carefully check those and then design your focus, design the type of activities that you want to put forward to achieve the goals, and then also how this reflects in terms of financial consequences for the different partners and the division within the setup of the project. So as Ramona has already said, we cannot give advice to individual project, but there is a lot of different opportunities and options that you can have in this call.
Okay, thank you. Next question. How the countries in Group 4, non-EU SMP countries, fit into the consortium composition requirements for the proposal submission? Exactly the same way as any other group, country group. You must, they are one of those groups from which you need to select 3 country groups. So basically you can select one country from that group, one country from Group 3, one country from Group 1, for example, and you will have eligible partnership. Otherwise, the partnership will not be eligible. And we specifically put the countries in the groups in order to make sure that different regions, different parts of Europe are cooperating. That was the purpose behind. Can one organization apply for both strands? I think you meant both topics. The answer is yes. What is a social economy enabling organization? Can you give an example, Karel?
In the call, the definition is included, so I happily refer you to that. Can I give an example? Of course, those are also mentioned in the call, but to help you, I referred already in my presentation to several types. For example, a regional federation or network organization of social economy entities in a certain sector or a certain type of social economy organizations is an example of a national social economy enabling organization. But there are more than that, but those are all described in the call, if I'm not mistaken, in the footnotes related to the eligibility criteria.
Okay.
And I'm sure about that.
Can you explain how the project website will work? Will the program provide one? There will be no specific project website. This is an eligible cost if you read the application well. Basically, what you're entitled to have a specific pages on the project in your organization's pages. And we are not planning to provide the centralized website. I mean, that's the case.
Yep.
Key projects from the last 4 years. Should this apply to all participants? Which CV models should we use? Yes, all participants need to provide the key projects. That's why you have the table, if I'm not mistaken. And if I remember correctly, do we ask for the CVs?
No, we don't. We do not ask.
We don't ask for the
CVs.
CVs.
Yeah, it's about when you mentioned the team members and short description, but we don't ask for the CVs.
So for the operational capacity, you simply need to fill in the table where you provide the key information about the key people in your project. So we don't ask any CVs. Can we use the support of the Enterprise Europe Network and the opportunities search database to help with partnership agreements to achieve the goals on topic 2? Yes, we encourage the cooperation and synergies with all the networks that are existing. You have clusters, you have Enterprise Europe Network and all other European networks. The wider, the merrier.
Exactly.
We are an association and EN partner involved in the 2 sectoral groups and with experience in international partnerships. Should we be considered mainstream sectoral federation or business support organization, EU level? As I mentioned before, everything has to be proven in the application, and then based on the information which will be provided in the application, we will be able to judge. We are not able to comment it right now because we don't see the full picture. Should all previous EU-funded projects in the last past year be listed, or just those that we think could be relevant? I think in this case, only relevant are okay, because but we are looking what we were doing in the specific field before. Are no-profit organization and namely Association Law 1901 in France eligible to participate to this call, please? There are no restrictions to the legal type of organizations for this call. We only ask specific types of organizations working in specific fields. So a priori, yes, but as long as you fulfill the other eligibility criteria. For topic 1, can the target group be a mixture of industrial SMEs and social enterprises, Karel?
The target group must fall under the EU definition of social economy organizations, enterprises.
Okay, thank you. To what extent does the support program for social economy entities need to be the same across the partner countries? I think we have answered this question already.
Yeah.
Exists any form to support the creation of partnership? We answered this question.
Yes.
I'd like to find a partner for the consortium outside Spain. Is there any space to present my project in search for other organizations? Romain has answered this question because there is a partner search database. Please clarify this. Country of registration of participating support organizations at EU level do not count the fulfilling the eligibility related to social economy enabling organization per participating country. This means that we take the registration country of EU level supporting organization, and it's usually either Belgium. I think most of them, they are registered in Belgium, and there are some that are registered in other countries. They are not among they are not counted when we are assessing the criterion where we say that at least 6 independent entities from at least 3 different eligible countries. So they are not among they are not counted when we evaluate this criterion. So they are European. They are not a specific country. For topic 1, should we have 2 partners per country, meaning 1 social economy enabling and 1 other entity? Romain?
No, it's not an obligation.
For topic 1. For topic 2?
For topic 1. For topic 1. For topic 2, you need these 2 types of organizations per country: social enabling, economy enabling organizations, and also business federation.
So this is the main difference in eligibility between the 2 topics. How does the digitalization of SMEs in social economy fit into the topic 1, Karel?
Not.
It does not fit.
I don't understand the question. The topic is totally different. This is about organizational capacity of SMEs in the social economy, as I explained extensively in my introduction. The digital call was about the digital uptake and also digitizing processes within social economy. So if there is a link, then it's specifically to this digital introduction of the organizational capacity. So that might be a link, but it's much broader. So there can be certainly digital aspects, because today, if you want to boost your organizational capacity, the digital aspect plays a role, but it goes way beyond. So it's not the same. Huh?
Okay, thank you. Carol, next question for you too. If the time frame for this call turned out to be unfeasible, will there be later rounds of this call? This exactly, most probably not.
I have no idea. We cannot give any clear-cut answer to that.
Exactly, because it all depends on the commission priorities, on the work programs, and if there will be political need, it might be inserted in the new work programs, but not necessarily exactly the same. So the answer is we don't know. Next question is about the eligibility. Please refer to the section 6 and everything is written there.
Just if I can just to about, because I think it clarifies the question of before about the at least one training provider, vocational education training, etc. This is not per participating country. This one, social enabling
training provider is as such in total, not per country.
Yeah, it's not per country.
Okay. Can you confirm if each country in the consortium for the call must have at least one social economy enabling organization and one mainstream sector federation for topic 2, or if these partners can be spread across the consortium? I think we confirmed that yes, this duo is a must per country for topic 2.
Yes.
Right? So this tandem is a must. Without this tandem, your application will be not eligible.
Yeah, in this case, it's per country.
Topic 2, how many SMEs should be involved in several countries? Karel, I think you answered the question before.
It's also clearly described in the call under the mandatory activities, and then you have also the indicators that are also very clear, I would say. So if there is any specific question, we are happy to reply, but the general answer is that under mandatory activities, the workshops, the amounts are very clearly indicated, as well as the indicators. Unless, Romain, you have other aspects to add.
Oh, yes, on topic 2, it's mentioned on the activities, and so you need to define KPIs.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thank you. How can the EU establish SCO with operational offices in Group 4 countries participate in the consortium, either as an EU entity or through its branch offices located in those countries?
So
what we ask in the eligibility that each applicant organization needs to have a legal and separate independent legal entity. So if you want to participate as EU established, you prove that you are a EU level organization, and then your country will not be counted. If you want to have your branch offices, they must be independent legal entities, and then it should be shown that it has European value.
Yeah. So depending on the eligibility, both are possible.
Exactly. Topic 2, can the enabling organization be the business support organization as well? You need to prove it in your application. It's a concrete case, and only after the application will be in full presented, then we can judge. Can a representative association of social economy apply as a leader? We did not impose any restrictions.
There are no conditions about it.
Sorry?
There are no specific conditions, so it's possible, yeah.
Yes. Topic 1, on procurement linkages business to business. What can this call learn and or build from the previous projects from SMP, SEMS, Celoid, Now, and Missed Opportunity? There was a previous call B2B, which is from which projects are finishing soon. I think this is the reference to this call.
To be honest, I think it perfectly aligns. It's the opinion of the question taker that it's a missed opportunity. Point taken, but To be honest, I see that entirely different, but that's a value discussion on the call orientation. That's not the place here. I'm always happy to have such a discussion, but not here.
I think, as you said, if there is a good outcomes experiences coming out from the previous call, this could be the base of the new application as well.
Maybe for other people who don't know what the other call is, the B2B call had the intention to promote more private procurement relationships between social enterprises and for-profit businesses and support market research and capacity building. So those elements are also possible even in the two calls that we have and the two topics that we present today. So I cannot see a better alignment to, for example, extend more in-depth aspects in terms of organizational management or to focus on circular partnerships. So
yeah, and we would encourage the synergies and
of course,
taking it as a base as well.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks.
Okay. Topic 2, what are the exact outcomes awaited from the topic 2? Generation of training, governance tools for the partnership, business model generation, testing of a new product or a service. I think it's listed clearly in the call. There's a list of outcomes that is expected.
Yeah.
Can we participate in more than one proposal submitted under the same topic? Yes. Can creative industry companies be considered social circular enterprises? Can an SME that generates profit be considered a social enterprise? You need to fit the description which is in the call, and then all is okay. What role can play, which sort of support can get entities focused on supporting entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystems, which are very often struggling with their financial sustainability?
This is a difficult question.
I think as long as your idea fits with the objectives of the call, you need to define the work plan how you would fulfill your goal. I would raise it as this.
Yeah, and I don't know what is the background of the question. It's very difficult. But if it's, for example, intends to the role of public-private partnerships to develop local entrepreneurial ecosystems, innovation systems, clusters, hubs, whatever, those references are very specifically included in the two topics even. So if you go back to my first presentation, in both topics, I highlighted the necessity to find also collaborative models between enterprises, for example, through those type of hubs, ecosystems, clusters, whatever you want to call them, because it creates a wider scope of the initiatives that are done, of the trainings that are offered, and the reach out can be enhanced through that type of partnerships. If that is the narrative.
And one thing is clear that in this call, we don't offer financial support to the third parties, right?
Yeah, that's for sure not. No.
So there is no.
If this is the question, then the answer is no, and the other is the question.
Exactly,
then
so
for sure.
There is a content support, but there is no financial support to the third parties. We have 10 or even less minutes left. What I would encourage participants, if you see the question which is really pertinent to you, please click
Vote it upwards. Yeah.
Vote it upwards, because we will not be able to answer all the questions now. They will be left for the questions and answer session. So don't hesitate to scroll down on all the list and vote the questions that they will appear up. In topic 1, will only 3/4 of the projects be accepted? We don't know, because we don't know how many applications we will receive. Subcontractors should never be used for core tasks. What are considered core tasks? Are these other specific experience or requirements for coordinators? You need to prove that you have an operational capacity to implement of the project, so the main project activities, and only partial actions can be subcontracted. So that's the main definition of the core task. So punctual tasks can be subcontracted. For example, you cannot subcontract project management because this is the core activity of the project. You cannot subcontract the full development of a module or full development of one of the deliverables, because you should have an operational capacity for that. In slide on writing non-IT related questions to you mail, it said deadline 28 May 2024. Is there any updated deadline available for this call?
If it was the case, it was a mistake, but the deadline is 10th of December 2024.
10th of December is the deadline to submit applications, but the questions is 1 week or 10 days before, no?
Yes, it's written in the core document, but it's at least, I think, 5 days before.
So thanks a lot for spotting this mistake. We will correct the slides and the correct date will appear there. Can we apply to this topic as technology development zone organization? We have 114 SMEs in our organization. It's an individual question. We cannot answer this on the individual case. You mentioned it's vital to address activities or areas that we less addressed in previous calls. Is it possible to have a list of the activity sector addressed by the previous calls so we can see gaps we should try to focus on? As of tomorrow, normally all the projects which are funded under the SME pillar should be appearing in the funding and tender portal. So you will be able to extract from there all the previously funded projects. Can we, as organization, be part of more than one consortium? This was already answered. For the organizations active at EU level, it's enough to have active programs in several EU member states, but not all. You have to prove it in your application. Topic 2, one mainstream sectoral federation with experience in circular operational national can an international organization with chapters in a national participant. I think this was answered already before. Can one of the work packages be dedicated to having financial covers for beneficiaries, social enterprises, and can we use the project budget for this activity? As I mentioned before, financial support to the third parties is not foreseen in this call, so no budget to distribute to the SMEs directly. Multinational business partner might not get approval to create a PIC legally internally before 10th of December because of the long lead times for such legal reviews in such organization. Can they still be associated partners and be added later? As mentioned by our colleagues from validation services, you only need to be declared. You don't need to be validated by the 10th of December. A social economy enabling organization active on EU level. Does it mean basically an organization involved in any international activities in EU? I think the definition is provided in the call.
Yes, it's a definition in the call document about this type of organization.
Can you explain more the meaning of the example of prepare for obtaining a quality label of organizational excellence on the market where relevant and appropriate? Karel.
Sometimes when certain interventions are done, it might be beneficial for an organization to also achieve a certification or a label of excellence. We don't have any value statement whether this is the fact or not, but we see that in some sectors it is very important, for example, to have certain relationships or to have certain contracts with other companies. So it has a market asset for your business. In such a case, these type of interventions can help to obtain such a label. But we don't pay with this call to obtain the label itself, and that is very important. And we also don't make it mandatory. We just say that it might be an opportunity for you in the market.
Okay, thank you. Next two questions were already answered. Now, important, can we launch a call of offers for territorial social companies to also apply within our projects to training capacity reinforcement, dedicate budgets to enlarge the scope of support? Yes and no. No, to pay directly to the companies. Yes, if you will have a training provider who will provide the service. For topic 1, do we need to develop the CB activities only in one region locally and then scale it to more regions, as the consortium members need to be from 3 different region groups?
No, it must be in all regions or member states covered. You must develop capacity building activities. That doesn't say on the sequence, for example. So for example, you might first test a pilot in one region or develop and design and then extend it to the others and let's say test it in another in another environment, in another niche or in another sector and adapt it. So that is the idea, to have this comparability between regions, and that's why also the transnational aspect is important, to have the learnings between the different partners. But the bottom line is that capacity building activities should happen and should take place in all the member states where you have partners.
Okay, thank you. Can a digital tool for helping social enterprise service design be included as a part of topic 1 in the program? I think
it's specific. If you think that is relevant, then you can justify it in the proposal, but this is not for us to give an advice or judgment here.
Can we use the support of the Enterprise Europe network? That was already answered. It exists any platform forum to support creation of partnerships? It was answered. Subcontractor should never be used for core task. We already answered several times about the core task. What type of entities are eligible?
Same.
To participate in the consortium, specifically in the social economy. This is in the group 4. We already answered this question. Can we use the support
Same,
of the,
it's already
that was answered? Should entirely from Part B template and uploaded separately in the annexes as indicated in the slide?
It's in Part B, and the list of projects.
It's in Part B, but the question is, can this Part be extracted and added to another annex? In principle, yes, it can be extracted and added to the Annex 5 together, if you want to save that one page. For first topic, is there a minimum number of social enterprises that must benefit from lead activities? That was already answered. E-projects from the last NCVs, it was already answered. In the list of eligible, is it not very clear to me whenever Moldova is eligible? We will double check and then we will answer in the in the questions and answers. Where can I find Annex 5?
In the EISMEA webpage about the call, from there you can download Annex 5. It is in the link of with the slide when you will have access to the slides, and it is also in the call document. You have the link to this EISMEA webpage there.
And we will also add it to the questions and answers, the link. We still have 18 questions. We are running out of the time. Let's see. I think this one was already answered.
Yes.
The CEO needs to speak English or must go to the tribunal criteria in case the company passes to phase 1. Please, this question had done 20 minutes ago, and I do not know why it is waiting for revision. It was waiting for the right time to answer. Maria Domenic, I think it's a question to you about the validation. The CEO needs to speak English.
You're
or must
muted.
Go to the
Maria Dominica, you're muted.
Okay.
Perfect.
So, sorry, can you repeat the question? I couldn't.
The CEO needs to speak English or must go to the tribunal criteria in case the company passes the phase 1. So basically, when we select the applications and if the company is not validated, what the CEO needs to do?
Okay, in the central validation service, we can work with any language. So the entity can contact to us with any EU official language, actually. So they don't have
plus English.
Yeah, at the level of the validation of the peak and the year appointment. Any
Okay,
EU
so all the
official
information
language.
can be provided in any EU language.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is Ukraine eligible country for consortium? Yes. Can you participate in two proposals for competing consortia for the same call and topic? In principle, yes, as long as the projects are not identical. Can you precise the definition of the enabling organization at EU level? It is in the call. Is it possible co-finance with work? That was already answered. Can a digital tool for helping social enterprise service design be included as part of topic 1? It is already answered. Twice the same question. Consortium or coordinator, what is the difference? Consortium is the consortium of all the applicants, meaning several organizations together. And then there is a one of those partners who is taking role of the coordinating the whole consortium. And this coordinator submits application, and if the application is selected, is responsible for the grant agreement preparation, plus all the communication, managing the project, receiving the money, spreading the money between the partners. But in the work package, this is the way how to present your application, because all the work has to be divided in the work packages. For topic 1, the program prioritizes the participation of umbrella organizations over social entities. Carol.
That really depends. There is a big chance that mostly umbrella organizations will be capable of applying and answering, because you have to have the reach out to the social economy organizations. But that does not prevent that individual social economy organizations or social enterprise also enter into a consortium because of a specific reason, because of, imagine that they have, for example, developed a certain business support or management training, and they will incorporate this and adapt it towards the needs of the call. Then this might, for example, be possible. So we don't exclude them, but we can also not decide what is your ideal consortia composition.
Okay, thank you. Will the presentations be sent to us after the webinar? They will be posted on the website. Define a social economy enabling organization that works at EU level. It was already answered. How can we define what a social SME is? Is it linked to a specific economic activity code or something outlined in the company statutes? How can we ensure that we are involving the right companies? Karel, would you like briefly to touch upon it?
What a social SME, all these different, again, we refer to the EU definition in the Social Economy Action Plan for that. The CAE is not necessary to stipulate because they can be in very different areas present. So
basically,
and then how can we
prove it in the application, right?
Yeah, and again, this is the scoping, the slides on the scoping and on what targets beneficiaries you would like to support. This is very crucial to be aware, first of all, what a social economy enterprise or organization is based on the EU definition. And then within that broad, let's say, concept, what types you would like to address and focus on.
Okay, so the general answer, you need to tell clearly this to prove it clearly in the application.
Yeah.
Can services of social enterprises was already answered. Support to project management could be subcontracted. That we cannot answer without seeing the full proposal. So when you will be submit your proposal, then we will be able to see what exactly this will be done. That will be done. Subcontractor should never be used for core tasks, but this already answered as well. Okay. We managed to go through all the big amount of questions. Thanks a lot to all the participants, to those who are listening to us for your active participation. Thanks a lot to all the presenters for your valuable presentations and inputs. And I would like to wish to everyone who was listening to us on all our behalf, have a good discussions with your partners, and we are looking forward for good projects. Have a very nice day.
Good luck.